There we go. We tried to have Paige be the camera person for this because I need both hands, and then she kept interrupting me and I would lose my train of thought. So we're going to try this again. We have my basket. This is my carding basket. I like to use wicker because it's pretty. I keep a coffee can next to me so that if I have garbage, vegetable matter in the wool, I can just put it in rather than putting it on my floor. This is a flicker brush. See how this turns out. The angle on the camera right now is kind of crappy. This is a flicker brush. And the purpose of a flicker brush is that if you have really bound up wool that has a lot of dirt in it, you use the flicker brush to remove the dirt and to remove the matting. So if I can find a piece, I'll show you how to do it. So whenever you work with wool, you hold it in the shape that it was when it came off the sheet. You don't want to divide it. You want to take it in pieces that are next to each other, that are stuck together. So here's vegetable matter. Don't want that in your wool. Pull it out before you card anything. Then you hold one end. If you're using a flicker brush, you hold one end really nice and tight. If it's a long piece, I hold it like that. It just keeps the ends from coming out. And don't do this in spandex or anything sheer or silky or nice, because you need jeans on to protect your leg. And then you just make it puffy. That's the goal. A puffy piece of wool, and then once one end is done, you hold on to it the same way on the other end. And it'll take out slubs, it'll take out vegetable matter. It takes out everything. So that's what it looks like now. It doesn't have vegetable matter and it's not constricted in on itself. If you want to keep this, the leftover, you can use it for stuffing dolls. You can use it as a quilt bat. You can use it for anything that you would use stuffing for. I am not at that desperation level because I have a sheep right now. So I'm probably not as careful to use it all as I should be. So that's what it's going to look like. And these are my paddle combs. Okay. So if you have really nasty wool, you want to do that with the flicker comb on everything, but you don't have to. When you load up your comb, you start at the bottom edge. You want all of the wool to be in contact with a tooth. You don't want to have it matted up here just on the top, not connected to anything. Every single piece of wool on here has to be embedded in a tooth. And my wool is pretty clean. It's not too terribly bad. If your wool has dried out or you washed it with a lot of soap, you want to take your spray bottle that has, it's about 3/4 full of water and then 1/4 full of almond oil. Almond oil works really well. You can put essential oil in it too if you want to, but I don't. You just spray it. I like to keep a wash tub next to me with my wool in it that's been sprayed, and then I keep it kind of next to the wood burning stove because it keeps it warm when I'm ready to use it. I don't keep it, what was I doing? I should have put that on the floor. I don't keep it next to the stove unless I actually have just sprayed it. Otherwise that'll dry it out. And then I don't leave it there unless I'm about to spin it. So you start at the bottom. Make sure it's called loading up the comb. Make sure to load up the comb from the bottom. So now I have this whole layer. This whole layer has wool on it. So I'm going to go up to the next layer, about 1 inch up, and load that. And that way you're not wasting space on your comb, because you have to get enough on your comb that you can actually, if you don't have enough wool on your combs, then the combs bind and rub against each other, and there's just absolutely no point to be doing it if you're just going to break your combs because you don't have enough wool on it. But you don't want to have too much wool, or else you don't have, if some part of the wool is not in a tooth, what happens is it, as you brush over, it just rolls itself into a ball and stays as a ball. It doesn't open up the fibers and extend them out. So you should be able to see some of the teeth here and there. And you should have kind of a fine coating of wool all over the whole brush. So that's what it's going to look like. And so it'll look like this wool is longer because you started at the bottom and then you worked up to the next level and then you worked up to the next level, but the wool on the top is just as long as the wool on the bottom. You want to make sure that you're getting a uniform, equal length quality of wool on your card, because if you are just taking a whole sheep fleece, you want to make sure that that what you're using for that particular wool is all from the same location on the sheep. Otherwise, you'll get some that is coarser and some that is longer and some that is shorter and some that is softer, and it doesn't spin together well unless it's completely meshed in. And then why would you want soft and coarse together? Wouldn't you want all your coarse together for a particular kind of coarse yarn, like an outdoor sweater? Wouldn't you want all your soft, long wool together to make baby clothing? So you want to sort things out according to length and according to location on the sheep. So when you do this, you never want to hear grinding from your combs, because all of your, I don't know, can you see it? All of your combs, all of them are pointed in the same direction. And if you mash the combs against each other, you bend those teeth out of direction. So start at the bottom. You're supposed to do this against your legs. It's hard for me to show this. Okay, we'll try this. Start at the bottom. You're just transferring a little bit of wool from one comb to the next. And as you do that, they rub against the teeth, and it pulls them out flat and gets rid of your slubbing. Ta-da! Now, ta-da! Push it down. Make sure everything is still in contact with the comb, and then hold it down, because not all of it, some of the fibers on the top won't be in connection with combs, and you don't want it to just have big sections of it fall off. You want it to actually be in contact with the other comb as it comes off, so it's only taking a little bit off. And when you do it, you flick it up so that these fibers are still out and away from the comb. Otherwise, they will double in on themselves and they will stick to the comb, and then they won't be straight. What you'll hear is the wool moving against each other and the very, very tiny tips of the combs brushing against each other, but they're not grinding against each other. They're just kind of brushing against each other. And the reason that you move it this way to take it off, rather than just being like, oh, I'll just take it off this way, is because these are the ones, and the underside is the part that hasn't been brushed yet. Now I've lost my train of thought. See, and it's starting to look really pretty. See how nice and fluffy and open it is? So this is why people have the camera flipped around so they can see themselves, is because I can see what you can see. See, brilliant. Okay. Now, what you'll find is that you'll have some vegetable matter, which would be hay, and manure also counts as vegetable matter. It's, chopped up hay. So vegetable matter in this is what you don't want. So if you see a big piece, you pick it out. And if you see slubs that are obvious, slubs would be little balls of wool that are never going to get carted out because they've wound in on themselves. And using the wool, the almond oil, or the wool, using the oil, the almond oil, makes a big difference in how easy it is to do this. If you don't use the almond oil, then the wool is dry and it wants to hug together and it breaks. If you don't have a little bit of moisture and a little bit of oil, your wool will break like really dry hair, especially if it's been in storage for a while. By the way, when you store your wool, you still store it in cloth bags. I take old sheets that I'm not going to use for anything, or old pillowcases work really good, and that's what I store my wool in in a cedar chest. You don't have to store it in a cedar chest. We don't have a real problem with moths, so we don't have to. But I just happen to have a cedar chest, so it's just where I store it. And this is looking really good right now. In fact, I could probably just roll that up right now. Okay. Again, pick out any vegetable matter you see. Any hand carded wool and even some machine carded wool is going to have hay in it. And you just have to pick it out. It just means it's authentic. This is something that came from a living animal. Okay, so I have it like this. Both pieces are here. I start at the top edge, which would be top edge. Take the little pieces and start rolling them. The name for this is a rollag. Can you guess why it's called a rollag? Now, I used to do rollags. I used to buy rollags that were machine rolled. I had no idea why it would be called a rollag until I started doing it myself the right way. I used to do this a different way. I found this method in the Foxfire or Firefox series, the Appalachian books, and it actually for the first time took it step by step how you do it and how to turn it into a rollag that actually works instead of just being this kind of nasty knotted bundle of wool that doesn't look very good. I love that book because I had been trying to figure out how to make these effective for a long time, and there is a method to it. If you don't do it the right way, it doesn't form a rollag. It forms a mess that's not fun to spin off of. So you see how pretty that turned out? And I can still see some vegetable matter in here. It's not fun to stop in the middle of your spinning to take out vegetable matter. It's really not fun. And I'm left-handed, so why do I have this on my right side? So sometimes you're just really tempted to get in there and get that vegetable matter. Resist the temptation, because right now I am ruining my rollag. Watch me ruin my rollag. See, now it has kind of this little slub in it, which is not good. Now, when you start to, you just store it like that. When you get ready to spin from it, you just take the end and pull it out. It looks, can you see how nice that turned out? There's not a lot of slubbing. It turned out really nice. And that's because of the water and olive oil. There, it didn't get combed as good as it should have. But anyway, there's a rollag, and that's how you use the paddle combs. Was there anything else I needed to tell you about the paddle combs while I'm here? No, this is a woolen comb. It makes a lofty yarn because all the fibers are mishmashed in each other. When you do a worsted, all the fibers go out parallel. So I'm going to do that in the next video, but I think that was everything I needed to tell you right now. So I'm going to start over.